The nicotine inhaler. Our learning objectives are that by completion of this activity, you'll be able to describe the properties of the inhaler, list its advantages and disadvantages, describe its availability, cost, and coverage in the United States, explain the standard dosing regimen or recommendations, and list common side effects with their mitigating strategies. We discussed gum in the patch, and the inhaler is not as commonly used as those two aforementioned modalities. The inhaler consists of a nicotine cartridge and two components. One is going to puncture the nicotine, and the other is going to serve as the mouthpiece. So those two pieces are going to fit together over the nicotine cartridge. It consists of a mouthpiece and a plastic nicotine-containing cartridge. When the smoker inhales through this device, the nicotine vapor, it's not smoke, is released and deposited, primarily in the oropharynx and absorbed through the oral mucosa. So it's not going to the lungs like tobacco smoke. It's actually being absorbed the same way the gum and the lozenge were absorbed, which is through the oral mucosa. So, as I said, it does not reach the lungs, and because of that, it has the same pharmacokinetics, or it acts the same in the body as the gum and the lozenge, reaching peak blood nicotine levels in about 20 minutes. And there is some concern. People look at the inhaler and think, well, isn't that just the same thing as nicotine from smoking? And the fact is that only about a third, the levels of nicotine in the blood are only about a third that of a smoker. Some of the advantages are that, as we discussed for the other short-acting nicotine replacement, it is effective for a sudden craving as needed. Another advantage is that, unlike the gum or the lozenge, the nicotine inhaler not only addresses the physical dependence by giving you nicotine, but it also addresses the craving for the behavioral and sensory aspects of smoking, particularly having your finger around the cigarette and inhaling from it. Unlike the gum, it can be used in smokers with TMJ and with poor dentition or dentures. Some of its drawbacks are that, like the other short-acting nicotine replacement, it does require repeated use throughout the day, and it does lead to more variable levels of nicotine compared to the patch. So, unlike the gum and the patch and the lozenge, the inhaler is only available with a prescription, and so I couldn't find it on Amazon.com. And the cost ranges from $1.23 to $2.05. Coverage. So the Affordable Care Act requires that all Medicaid programs cover all tobacco cessation medications. And the inhaler is covered in 43 states. It's not covered in the states listed. And the coverage varies by health plan in the states listed. The dosing is, there's only one dose, so there's no difference, there's no assessment needed for the number of cigarettes or how early the person smokes in the morning. It's just one dose. And the dosing schedule is 6 to 16 cartridges per day for the first 6 to 12 weeks, followed by a gradual reduction of dose over the next 6 to 12 weeks. The most common side effect of the nicotine inhaler is that it causes local irritation of the mouth or throat, and that's particularly worse in the early stages of use and gets better with time. An alternative is to give that a trial period and see if it gets better, or use an alternative short-acting form of nicotine replacement, such as the gum or the lozenge. So another side effect is bronchospasm, which is the constricting and dilatation of the the bronchioles and the bronchi. This is going to be more likely to occur in people with reactive airway disease, particularly asthma. And so if somebody has asthma, then it might be appropriate to consider something other than the inhaler for their short-acting nicotine replacement.